So welcome to our little watch talk. Today we challenge each other to choose 3 watches that we are really excited about from our current lineup that we really feel connected with. So join us in this little watch talk in which we will discover these beautiful pieces.
The first watch I want to start today from our lineup is this 5513 pre-Comex dial Submariner, and I think for us it's a very typical look. Maybe one of the looks that we are most famous about is the ghost bezel look on a 5513 with the Tropic 19 plexi, which is a super dome that really gives a vibrant look of the watch with every twist of your arm when you put it on your wrist. The indexes will change shape and dimensions just by the plexi, the disc formation, which is really vibrant and gives to me the ultimate vintage look. This in combination of the cream plots, the cream hands with the ghost bezel, for me the ultimate vintage Submariner look. Very cool. This one has the pre-Comex dial, which is in today's market a big bonus, a very rare dial variation, only mainly seen in the low 5 digits, serial digits, so very short period of time that it was produced, quite rare. The funny thing is it's called pre-Comex, but I own the 5513 Comex with a Comex dial, also seen many 5514s, and the dial has the same correct crown, the smudge crown, and also typography than most of the Comex dials, the matte dials for the 5514, they also used in the 5513. So somehow it's called pre-Comex, but it's the same dial than in many Comex. And what I find typical or special about this, what I also saw with a lot of Comex watches, that these dials get really nice patinas, creamy kind of plots, vanilla, very refined look. So a very special watch. And as I said, a very typical look for us, the ghost, because also my personal 5513 Maxi Mark 1, this one that you see in a lot of our strap images, strap promotion, has the same kind of look, more typical to the 5513 Maxi Mark 1, brighter markers more in the whitish area, you see that a lot with the Mark 1, but the same ghost bezel kind of feel look, so really for us, one of the nicest looks, and every time we are very happy that we are able to offer you one, because we only find them very rarely these days, so this one is one to check out. Berend, tell us about your first selection.
Yeah, just like the Submariner, Rolex has made more very iconic watches. One of the most iconic, especially in today's market, is Rolex Daytona, of course, and that's why I chose this Daytona, which is a 16523, which is the Zenith Power Movement Daytona, which is the first Daytona to feature an automatic movement. And what I found really interesting about this specific one is that it is made in gold and steel. And the gold and steel Daytonas are, in my opinion, one of the best value pieces in the market, but also one of the most nicest pieces in the market, because just like a GMT or Royal Oak, which I will talk later about, the Daytona is really a watch that suits the characteristic of a steel and gold watch very well. It gives more luxury to the watch in a point, but also it makes it feel like more than just a steel Daytona. I had several steel Daytonas on my wrist in my life before, but always when I put a steel and gold or even full gold one on my wrist, it just feels like more. It feels more luxurious, but also more aesthetically pleasing in some way, because it just gives a friction and a twist which I really like about it. And further on like that, it really is such a great value in today's market. If you see the prices of steel Daytonas, especially Zenith Daytonas, at the moment, it's crazy, and these steel and gold examples really have a big benefit in price, but just don't feel like less to me, and that's what I really found interesting about them. Also, you can find rarer dial variations for much more accessible prices than with the steel examples, like for example the 4-liner dial which we had last year, which costs around the same as a 116520, which is the successor of the watch, but really it's really an interesting piece which still is more to explore in, and also design wise, in my opinion, is one of the best looking Daytonas, especially with the champagne.
And I totally agree with you. When you see the last years, certainly the last, let's say, 1 year and a half, that the steel gold watches are getting more and more recognition, In the past, it was sometimes that they were the cheaper versions if you couldn't find the steel, or they had a certain kind of dogma or stigma to them. And we found over the last years, certainly also with the Datejust, certain Rolex watches, but also AP, where we will come later on, and also Patek, the Nautilus, that it even feels richer on the wrist with steel gold than just plain steel. So for me, it is sometimes, I think personally, if I would buy AP Royal Oak at the moment, I personally would rather buy maybe even a steel gold version, because not only of the price point where you can really get it, at a very interesting price against the steel version, but also certainly also with the APs, but also with many Rolex, it feels way richer and way stylisher, and certainly when the gold becomes a little bit more red goldish feel, warmer, it is for me a stunning look. So totally agree with your choice, Berend.
Yeah, the Daytona and steel gold is really go-to.
Yeah,
really astonishing. Yeah. But I can see you have some gold watches.
Yeah, lately, to be honest, I started a long time as a Rolex collector, and steel was on my wrists, all the time. Later I tried also some, white golds, and now and then the day date. Steel gold became a part of me, and funny enough is that for the last 1 or 2 years, I think I mainly wear gold watches. Today
I think you only own.
Yeah, mostly own gold watches. Today I'm wearing myself Cartier Basculante that will be live on our website soon, steel, which is cool. But to be honest, mainly I personally wear Cartier, Patek, gold watches, and the one watch I want to talk about from our current lineup to you is, one of the surprises, and this really is why I want to share this with you, is over the last years, as I said, I started to wear more and more gold watches, but also different brands. Next to the Rolex watches that I all own and love, and will always love, and they will always be a very big place in my heart for Rolex watches. Over the last year, I tried to inspire myself with new pieces, different looks, different vibes on the wrist, and a lot of them are gold watches, smaller watches, that look super stylish. And there where maybe 2 or 3 years ago we all wanted 40mm cases and bigger, and it had to be bold and big and all these kind of things. Certainly now also with the trend of the Cartiers, you see more recognition for more modest size watches that are timeless and elegant, but also done in a very nice quality. This brings me to this watch, which was as a brand also a surprise for me as a watch. And I have been wearing it for the last, I think, 2 weeks, almost all the time, and really love it. For me, a really cool discovery for me in 2021, but also now in early 22. Last year we sold the bigger version in white gold, which was also stunning. But I want to share with you this little bit smaller, but so stunning Breguet Moonface watch, one of the classic watches by them. It's a reference 3280 3300, and it is a modest size, but Jesus, this is a big feeling watch with a lot of detail and a lot of style. And when you dig into Breguet, which was a brand that I always associated with more guy of a banker, or more very classic wearing style, very prestige brand it is, but somehow in my collector's world, also with our friends that have a little bit more of the Rolex background, Breguet wasn't always in the picture, or for us really a brand, a go-to brand. And the last years, and we also have an article about them, for me it really becomes the recognition how special these watches is. Just like Vacheron, Breguet, Patek, these are the really big brands from the past with a long standing tradition in creating high quality pieces. I mean, Breguet is more than 200 years old as a watch brand. It's crazy. It's the hands that they are created, the shape that is in that hand is already like 200 years old. They have been the inventor of some of the biggest inventions in the watch industry. They invented the tourbillon, which is one of the most prestige complications these days that people put in watches. They created the first automatic movement, Breguet. They created the Breguet numerals, of course, that are so famous these days.
Especially in Pateks.
Yeah, certainly in the Pateks from the 40s, which are such a prestige. In the steel Pateks from the 40s with the Breguet numerals, some of the nicest watches. Yeah. They even invented the first watch to be worn on the wrist. So it's a very special brand, a very refined brand. As said, high end, in the finishes. They created also all these guilloche finishes on the dial, which offers so much refinement. And I'm wearing the watch, and every time I look at it, you see discover new details, the coin edged case. The shape of the locks, everything is so refined and well designed, and maybe also traditional design, which we also love in Cartier, that they are designed. These designs are like, some of the Cartiers are more than 100 years old designs that we still wear today and feel very, very modern and timeless. And the same goes with the Breguet. So for me, the Breguet is one of the really, really nice discoveries, and I hope I will find way more and enjoy them and share them with you, inspire you also to have a look at Breguet, because it's one of the most prestige brands. And what I really like about it, in all the the period that we are living with, all the hypes and all the very prices that go crazy on certain hypes. We saw prices of Tiffany Oyster Perpetuals that are just mind blowing to me, when at way still undervalued, maybe undiscovered brands like Breguet, you find masterpieces of watchmaking, with the most beautiful cases and finishes at a relative, mild prices. So this is a brand for me. I will try to discover, and I hope also for you, you will discover the brand and discover how special it is and how much watch it will offer you for the value. So it's something that is really, interesting for me. So I hope you will join us in that journey. So Berend, a lot of talk about little gold watches. What do you still have on the table?
Yeah, especially jumping onto the subject that we talked about with hype watches, especially if you look into today's Oyster Perpetuals, but also to Royal Oaks. It's really crazy. It's really a strange time in that way, but there are still some finds, like for example the little Breguet, which I really want to say about. Many people think this watch is way too small, but every time I saw it on your wrist, it's 31 millimeters, I think. I never thought that it looked too small. It really was a stunning design.
It's 30 millimeter indeed, but it doesn't feel too small. I like the aesthetics of that refined watch, feeling. And I wear it with leather jackets, military jackets, certainly now also in the winter, and I don't feel it's too small. It's just so much watch on the wrist. It makes up for the size easily, but
the same goes with AP. Of course, many people are hyped for the Jumbo Royal Oaks, and then people started to jump onto the mid-size Royal Oaks, or 4100 references, 14790. But these watches have also come to a point that, let's be honest, for the vast majority, they're not accessible anymore. But there are still some finds with AP, which I discovered, which really, really are interesting to look at. Like for example, this Royal Oak. It's not the typical Royal Oak design in a way that it has a different shape. So this is the rectangular Royal Oak, which just basically has a different shape. It's rectangular, it's not octagonal. But really, this watch has all the refinement, all the style, all the coolness even of a original design Royal Oak. And we had a couple now. We had a full gold one. There's a steel gold one. I have seen many over the last years, and really this design always stunned me, because I really think that the rectangular shape is really pretty. It's a cool watch. The design of the Royal Oak is there, especially in the bracelet. And like what I talked about with the Daytona, this is also a steel and gold variation, which I think in Royal Oaks, maybe not everyone will agree with me, but it's my opinion. The steel and gold execution is my favorite execution in the Royal Oak, because it just gives more luxury to the watch. A Royal Oak is a sport watch, but it's not a sport watch like, for example, a Submariner. It's a luxury sport watch. So the design of steel and gold really suits with it, and I think AP uses the nicest color of steel because it has a warmer tone than, for example, Rolex or Patek. It has more hints to rose gold than yellow gold.
I mean the gold one. Gold
yeah.
color,
and the gold color really strikes, and especially in combination with that steel, it really feels so rich on the wrist. The design is there. It is a quartz movement, which many people say that it's stupid, but AP was never famous for using great movements, so I think that doesn't make really big of a difference in that way. So this design is really nice. I love the size of this watch. It's not as big as a 4100, but it comes really close. It's just a perfect design, and like I said, it's a great value, because in today's market this is under 9,000 euros, which in AP standards you can find really much APs for these prices. It's
these days, you pay almost 30,000 euros for steel 4100. So this is still, I think, kind of a bargain where you get that full feel. And what I really like, I talked about also about the 4100s and the 36 millimeter ones, which I think are the coolest size of them. Sometimes the jumbos are too, oversized for me, not comfortable for me. Yeah. But what I find interesting with this, you get that full feel and look of the bracelet, the AP bracelet, which is one of the nicest design bracelets with all the details and side finishes and everything. So very complex, but also very rich. And I think the steel gold, where it articulates certain elements of the bracelet, the connections with the gold against the steel links. I think it feels almost like jewelry on the wrist. So for me,
and it's super thin. It wears so comfortably.
Yeah, it looks so stylish, and I think these kind of AP watches and also the steel gold 36 millimeters like the 4100 and so on, they are really feeling like one of the nicest gentleman jewelry on the wrist. Yeah. Absolutely stunning pieces. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, this watch really is my venom from the last weeks. I wore it many times and I absolutely fallen in love with it. And absolutely the size is spot on as well. You can see the wrist shots on our website. You can see this watch really shines on your wrist. Yeah. Like the watch you're going to talk about next, which is a super special piece.
Yeah, I mean, we always, we are proud on the watches that we offer. We take a lot of effort and pride in finding the right pieces for you and finding special pieces. And certainly with the one that we are talking about now, this is absolutely up my alley as a collector. And also for me, watches have to talk to me. They have to, engage with me. It's all for me about the connection that I have with the watch once I put it on my wrist. And certainly when you move it and the light is changing, that's why I love also like the Submariner with the Tropic 19. It's so alive on the wrist. And certainly this one, it's a gold Submariner. This in itself is already very special. These are rare and special and very valuable.
These years.
Yeah, watches these days, Plexi, gold Submariner is already special. But this one has a dial which is absolutely to die for. It's and absolutely something that I, as a watch collector, always admired and always was hunting for are tropical dials. This one has brown, gold, brown, purple, camel, all kind of colors are in there, which makes it so special. Certainly, with the finish that Rolex has, with the kind of sunburst finish, these watches are just dancing on your wrist. It's hard here in the studio, of course, but if you put this one into the sunlight, with every move of your wrist, it will open up new worlds, new discovery of colors, shades. Originally this watch was a blue dial watch with a blue bezel and blue dial. And what you see often is with these blue kind of dials, but also with other colors, is certainly from these periods that sometimes they change the color. It's not so much that they become a different color, but it's more that certain pigments and certain shades of color in such dial, they fade away by certain kind of circumstances. Often it's related to sunlight or to certain kind of climate and temperatures and moisture in the air. But also we have seen that when a watch is in a safe, so in a vault, in the dark for a long time, that black dials turn brown. I saw it on a Newman, which became crazy brown just by being in a bank safe for more than 20 years. I've seen it on Submariner dials, but also all kind of other variations. So it's not so much about the tropical, it's always certainly related to just the sunlight and tropical climate. Yeah. But it is also often related that certain circumstances have the different colors that a dial is created of fade away, and by that a different color becomes more dominant, so it changes its color. The blue is, of course, also there's purple, there's red in there, there will be black in there, there will be kind of yellowish, all kind of tones. The blue is built up, and certainly when the blue pigments fade away, the red and the yellowish and also the base plate of the dial becomes more dominant as a look, and so that's why it turns into brown.
Especially with this one you can really see that, because on the outer track it has more purple here, so in the middle of the dial it's really brown.
So it's really a crazy dial, and also really important in a crazy nice condition. The case is very nice, certainly it's been polished in the past, but this is absolutely normal for 99% of the Rolex watches out there. But the dial is just super nice, and this one has some crazy details. So what I wanted to talk to you about is not only the style and the craziness of the dial in the sunlight, and we hope we can share this with you also in this video, but it's also the realization back then in those days in the 70s when people bought this watch, what kind of people did buy it, what happened to these watches, what kind of life did it live. What is interesting, this watch has the serial numbers and the case back, which indicates normally where we see this is that it's often delivered to Arab country, often by Asprey in London. They were one of the big dealers here that delivered also the watches to the Omani swords, the Omani crest, the Conjures and all these kind of dials often went through Asprey in London to these countries, so also often have the serial number in the case back. So this is an indication that it went to the Middle East and was supplied by one of the suppliers. That they did that a lot. And the funny detail is, back in those days, these were really expensive watches. We just had a look again at some price lists from the 70s, where you see that in Deutschmarks back then, the Datejust was like, I think it was 1100 Deutschmarks, and the Submariner 5513 was only like 850 Deutschmarks. Daytona was like 1000 Deutschmarks.
Yeah, I was astonished. The 1016 was the entry level Rolex back then, in these days, in the 70s.
But in those days, these gold Submariners and also the Day-Date was really a prestige watch. In yellow gold, they were already like 7-8 times the price of a normal Submariner. So maybe still in relation to today, but back then it was a lot of money. So were very wealthy people who bought these kind of watches. And when you had that kind of paraphernalia, that you were wearing a gold watch back then in this, and certainly if you went to the Middle East, this guy, the original owner, went one step further. He took out the tritium pearl, took out of the bezel and insert a diamond in there and did some refinements to it, where it's really stunning, really cool dial. That the detail that the inlay really has a diamond instead of the pearl, which is really cool and adds to the total vibe of this watch, which really maybe back in those days was more kind of a Playboy kind of watch or something, and it really is a stunning piece today. So absolutely special, rare pieces. This one is, I think one of the coolest, nicest watches we have in our lineup at the moment, and certainly, hope we will find a fantastic home for it that really cherishes all these crazy details, and certainly, wears this dial in the sun and enjoys it, because
it's a very unique piece.
It's a unique piece.
When you put it on your wrist, it feels so rich. It is unbelievable, especially that dial that shines so bright. The color is really pretty. It's very warm. It's really just a stunning, unique
absolutely
piece.
Cool piece. Yeah.
And this is of course an expensive watch, but in today's market, like I said, there are still some nice finds, and I made many videos about the Rolex Datejust. I've told many stories about them. I've told why I love that watch, why it's the best watch you can wear on a daily basis, and sure as hell I will make some more videos about it, because my love for these watches is so big, and that's why I had to put another Datejust in today's video, and not a normal one, because like I said, with the Datejust, you have a lot of choices. You have choices in bracelets, in bezels, but also in dials. You have colored dials, but the most commonly seen are the silver dials, which on a daily basis are really nice to wear because they just simply suit with everything. It's a timeless design. And but today I have a silver dial, but it's not really a regular silver dial because this dial is super special. It's a rare dial because of the marker shapes. These markers are absolutely stunning. They have a 3D effect into them, which really gives so much depth into the watch, so much aesthetic pleasing views into the watch. When you put it on your wrist, it has a completely different vibe than other 1601s or 1603s I have seen before. The markers look a little bit like the white boy type markers, but I think these are even better looking. A lot of detail into them. There is a little silver stripe in the marker, which in some type of lights looks like black, in some types of light looks like white, and some types of light looks like silver. So there's always something going on, and really the shape is absolutely stunning. The markers are also a little bit closer into the dial, which gives a completely different view to the dial, especially in combination with the Jubilee bracelet, which is of course a classic look. Also with the reeded or engine turned bezel, which is the steel bezel, that's why I reference 1603. This watch in its total is just a completely nice looking, timeless classic design, but also a rare piece, which in Datejust you can still find, but it's getting harder and harder every day.
Yeah, but it's so cool with Datejust. And I think we owned hundreds of Datejust over the years. We really love them because sometimes we feel they are still kind of underrated, and I don't talk about the money-wise thing because I'm happy that people can still afford them. You know, I'm kind of sad that these kind of nice Submariners have become so rare and special and valuable that not everyone can buy one anymore, like I did in the beginning of my career in vintage watches. But these Datejust are still pieces that are out there, and we are so happy that we get visitors every week coming for Datejust, that more and more a new generation is really discovering these pieces. It's their entry into the world of vintage Rolex, but for me it's way more of an entry because, as I said, also in the price lists from the past, the Datejust was more expensive than a Sea Dweller, than a Milgauss, or than
it was
than
really
Daytona.
a prestigious model. It was Rolex. Underneath the day-date or gold watches, like for example the gold Submariner, the Datejust was the most prestigious model for Rolex.
I think it's kind of quintessence of a Rolex that has all this refinement and style, certainly in a Jubilee bracelet where it has that richness, that classic look that suits with everything that you put onto it, from the beach to a really classic, suits environment. But it has so many variations, there's so much to discover in this world. And for me, it's the first time that I saw that dial, and also I owned that dial. There are some pictures around, so there will be a few around. But over the many years the Datejust was produced, even also the vintage one, Rolex did so many nice dial variations. So even if you stick to that kind of theme, there's so much to discover and so many nice people to find still, which is really interesting. So it's absolutely stunning. And what I like with this dial, what you already said, is with these white markers, it adds some kind of a 70s, 60s feel to it, but also some kind of coolness. A little bit more rugged look than the classic, silver dial, which is very nice. This becomes more sporty, cooler in a way. And then the combination with the Jubilee, the refinement. For me, it's really, really super nice friction. So, stunning piece, and one should grab it right away because it will be hard to find another one.
That's really something with the Datejust, is that over the years Rolex did so many different type of dials, not only colors but also different type of marker shapes, hand shapes, bezel shapes, bracelet variations. That every Datejust has its unique thing in it, which makes it different, but also very accessible to wear, because they just a timeless design, but also go really easy with any type of style. And really, this watch, when I saw it for the first time, it absolutely astonished me. The dial is stunning.
Super cool.
And what I really like about it, it's a Soleil dial, so silver Soleil dial, and many of the silver Soleil dials are really clinic in the Soleil, but this has a more grainy Soleil, which also gives more in the sun, especially more striking vibe to the watch.
Very cool piece.
You need to see this watch on our website or even see it in our lounge in real, which is always the best way to see it.
I mean, with all the watches that we showed you today, you can see online in our online shop at bulangandsons.com, or for all our European clients in bulangandsons.eu. And many more, of course. And we challenge each other to now and then, talk about certain watches that we have that we really like from different perspectives. Berend from a way younger perspective, fresh into this world for the last 2-3 years, but already experienced, accompanied me on all kind of trips, visits, and in meeting watch friends since he was a small kid. So he has seen it all, but takes his own path. And me, on my journey to discover cool new pieces, to bring you not only the watches that I love and I really relate with, like these Submariners, these ghost look Submariners and GMTs and everything, but also hope to inspire you with some new pieces, new things that we discover and we bring into our in our shop. Because for us there's always the main theme: each watch that we show you and offer to you has to be a watch we would be proud to own as collectors ourselves. We enjoy, often we already wear them for a week or two before we even show them to you, because we are still, lovers and enjoy these pieces. And for me especially, this is also a journey for years to come, where I really, want to discover these new pieces and, learn to love them, or I fell in love with immediately. And looking also forward to hear from you guys, also in the comments below. What you like, maybe cool pieces that we should discover and inspire us also. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos.
Especially we will do these little watch talks more often from now on, because I think it's really a nice way to find out what inspires us every day and give our little inspiration to you. And
we want to invite you again, visit us in our lounge, so you can really touch the watches, feel the watches, get inspired, understand what you want and what you see the difference in all these kind of people, becomes more alive. But of course we still, as all these years, ship out the watches worldwide every day, no issues. So contact us if you have any questions. Either Berend or I will answer you and help you to find the right watch for you. And hope this little lineup inspires you to find yours.
To find your great piece.
Yeah.
And we are happy to help.
Enjoy your hunt. Thank you.